What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Slacking Off Show, the show that you're listening to when you should be doing something else. I'm your host, Nathan Wind, and I'm joined by the one, the only, Cameron Messer.
How's everyone doing?
And the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. JP Gomez.
Hey, what's up? But now, before we start, I want to have a moment of silence. I'll explain to you later, but first I want to have a moment of silence, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so that moment of silence was for a couple of things. One is for Game of Thrones finally ending. It ended about 2 weeks ago to this day. Number two was for... That moment of silence was for HBO and their ratings, because that was their only golden goose for like 10 years. Number three was for the fan base of Game of Thrones, because now they can finally shut the fuck up about Game of Thrones. And now... number four is for Star Wars, because after ruining the last two episodes of Game of Thrones, they're now moving on to work on a trilogy for Star Wars.
What?
Yep.
And you know what's funny, though? I'm literally just started watching Game of Thrones this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'm on season 4 now, and I've only been watching it for a week, two and a half.
That's a binge.
I'm on episode 4.
It's not hard. There's only 10 episodes. It's not hard.
Oh, per season?
Yeah.
That's still a binge, though.
That's
Because they're
exhausting.
what, like 30 minutes
No,
each?
they're an
Yeah,
hour.
they're an hour.
They're an hour each.
So that's like 10 hours.
That's Cameron. Go home. Go hard or go home.
I guess so.
Yeah, but it takes me a long time to get through The Sopranos.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's just because all the characters are very interesting.
Allegedly. But I haven't seen anything past the first episode.
Of Sopranos.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, I mean,
Because
Well, I
I'm
will be
enjoying
honest.
it.
It took me about... This is the third time attempting to watch Game of Thrones. And this one's the charm.
well, I remember seeing so many Facebook statuses saying HBO unsubscribe, and I'm like, yep, their ratings.
Why
Going
do that when
downhill.
Watchmen's coming out?
Nah, that's another month of savings.
I don't think most people are going to be as interested. I think Zack Snyder have already set the expectations for most people.
You're probably right. Oh man, and let's also save that moment of silence was for Batman, since now it's been confirmed that Robert Pattinson is playing the Dark Knight.
I mean, considering what's happened with the DCEU, like, can you really go lower than what they have been before?
Probably not.
No.
So maybe it'll
People
be good.
really care about this that much? Like,
Yeah, it matters. This is Batman, son.
I
Like,
mean, let's
the-
be honest. The person who did it the last time wasn't that good, and the one before that was okay.
Ooh, you're stirring the pot, Cameron.
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the...
Talking about who played
When you-
who's played the current Batman?
Ben Affleck.
Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck, but who was before that? I keep forgetting his
Christopher-
name.
Oh god.
Christopher something.
No, we're thinking Chris Nolan. That's what we're.
No, but his
no,
name was a
wasn't his
Chris
name
too.
Christopher?
Yeah,
Let's pull out Google.
that guy who was like
Oh, gosh.
the only time I remember
Christian
this
Bale.
guy.
Christian Bale. Thank
okay.
you.
It
I
has
was
a
like,
Chris in there somewhere.
this
He
is
was
bad
okay.
if we forgot all that.
He was okay.
It was
They were
fine.
both okay. I mean, Christian Bale is better than Ben Affleck at it, but
Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this craziness that you are seeing, go on and smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe for more.
I guarantee that you'll like this more than what DC has for Batman. Because like they were, like I was trying to be nice and say that okay, maybe Ben Affleck's Batman has a chance. You know, they had that whole idea of Ben Affleck is going to make his own Batman movie, and I heard news that he was directing it. Oh no, he's not. He's just producing it. Oh, he's off the production entirely.
Yeah, he was trying to be a one-man army over there, and I'm like,
Are you sure it's like the one man army thing, or is it just like Justice League's,
maybe it's both.
everything? I think it's a bit of both.
But anyways, we went out and we saw Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now, for those of you who don't know, we are about to be delving into some spoiler territory. This is your only warning. If you need to click off the video, do so now. So anyways, this is the second of the newer Godzilla movies. The last one came out in 2014. And before we really get into it, I just wanted to ask you guys, what's your previous experience with the Godzilla franchise? What have you seen and what have you not seen?
I believe the one I know I did see the 24 2014 one, I believe, and then the older early 2000 garbage one. The black and white ones, I think I saw those too. I mean, the franchise, I've never really been that interested in the monster or the character that much.
That's interesting though, because you're all about like monster movies. You love those old classic monster movies.
Yes, ones that speak.
The ones that
Ones that have-
speak. What about you, JP?
Well, I guess I care enough about them. Like, I recognize Godzilla and all his friends. But as far as, like, a film franchise, I just don't really watch a whole lot of them. I only know, like, bits and pieces of it. It's just, like, yeah, the last one I also saw was the 2014 one. And I maybe saw a bit of, like, the older American ones. But it's mostly just, like, the highlights of Godzilla putting the smackdown on, like, Mecha Godzilla or some shit like that. I only know him because of like how much of a big influence he has on pop culture.
I mean, I remember when the early 2000 one came out because I remember having the toy that was electronic and you controlled Godzilla and you could destroy things with it.
Actually,
I remember that one.
That sounds
He
like
looked
a cool
way different.
I bet.
He looked more like a dinosaur, Godzilla did.
Yeah. Okay, I can see what you mean.
I think that's what like particularly the American versions try to go for, make him look more like a dinosaur.
I think, yeah, and I think the movie's on like Netflix or Hulu or something. Right
There's
now.
I think there's like 3 different Netflix exclusive Godzilla movies. Don't quote me on that, but if you're on Netflix and you look up Godzilla, there's like 3 movies that come up and it has like a 1, a 2, and a 3 behind it. And when I was trying to find the original to watch before we went to the theater, I didn't see that on any other platform. So maybe there are some exclusive ones that I just don't know about.
They might have a deal to work on some Godzilla like Netflix originals. I don't really know that.
Yeah, me neither. But I knew about Godzilla primarily just because everybody knows who Godzilla is. But in terms of like media that I've watched, I haven't really watched too much until we decided we were going to review this. But I played this old video game. I want to say it was on like PS2 or GameCube, where you would basically, it was like a fighter where you would pick one of the different Godzilla titans, kaijus, whatever, and you would fight it out and destroy the city.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It was fun back in the day. I have no idea what it's called or how it holds up.
It's just like wasn't it that you could pick from not just Godzilla but like all the different monsters?
Yeah,
also?
yeah, you could pick like a ton of different ones and you just fight it out in the city, which was fun at the time. I mean, it was
okay.
just,
So I think I know what you're talking about. Because you could just like destroy like all the buildings in like this nondescript city.
yeah, you know,
Okay, yeah.
it's definitely not Tokyo.
Okay.
But before this movie, I went and I watched the original 1954 Godzilla, which I had never seen before.
That was done in China, Japan.
Japan. Yeah, and then I really quickly watched Godzilla 2014 the day before going into the theater.
Oh, you skipped the 2000 one.
There's only so many hours in the day, and there's a lot of Godzilla out there.
You'll be here for a long time
Like,
if you had to watch like most of the Godzilla movies.
If they didn't have the parentheses and the date beside it, I would have never figured out which one was the
because they tried
first
to
one.
reboot this thing multiple times.
And interestingly, the first movie, the 1954, is called Godzilla King of the Monsters, the same title as this movie, yet this is a sequel.
I
So
thought the original was just called Godzilla, like the
I
original.
I think I looked this up and apparently like, yeah, you're right in that it was just originally called Godzilla, or as they pronounce it, Gojira, because that's the American name they gave it. But like that was when they adapted that original movie for the U.S. and that's when they called it Godzilla King of the Monsters.
okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Well, this new movie was directed by Michael Dougherty. I think I'm saying that right.
Correct.
And he actually directed and wrote this movie, as well as the movie Krampus, the one with the like evil Superman from back in the day. And
Thought that was Krampus.
I mean, not Superman. I'm sorry.
Krampus was like
evil Santa Claus.
Oh, are you confusing it with like Brightburn or something?
No. The other reason why is when I was glancing at my notes, he also wrote X-Men Apocalypse, and he wrote the screenplay for Superman Returns.
Oh,
So I
That's right, I
mixed them
remember
back up.
He was one of the writers on this movie.
He has a writing credit. I think there was one other guy.
I forgot his name.
It's like
There's
he is one of
two
two
people.
screenwriters.
Yeah. So what did you guys expect to get from this movie, and why?
I expected a fun movie, a monster that's going to destroy a city against other monsters. And, Godzilla's saying, well, hey, this is my thing.
You literally wanted Godzilla to open his mouth and say, "Hey, this is my thing."
No, I expected it to be a movie about Godzilla either destroying the city or planet or defending it and going up against other monsters. And just a fun summer movie.
Okay. Now, when you talked about watching the original Godzilla, that was kind of my suggestion to do so, to just kind of I guess remind each other of where has the franchise gone since, and just kind of how it all started. And watching that movie was very interesting to see how and why this whole thing just kind of blew up, because one of the major takeaways that most people got at the time was this rather hokey but kind of compelling sort of allegory to nuclear weapons, and just a sort of the consequence of that, or the consequence of humanity on nature and that sort of thing. Because that whole movie, you had certain characters describing Godzilla as basically our collective punishment, because they can't really do anything and it's entirely their fault.
It's like nature trying to put the world back in balance.
Yeah, that's essentially it. So it's a natural force type of thing. And I find that strangely compelling, despite the fact that you see this movie, you actually watch this movie, and a lot of the shots are really goofy. Really fucking goofy. There was this one
Wait,
shot.
You're talking about the old one, right?
The old one,
Yeah. There were some weird shots.
Although it's funny they had to ask that question. Which one are we talking about here?
I just wanted to make sure, because there were a couple of odd ones.
Yeah, the fire truck sequence where it's just they had to cut to a toy fire truck, and it was just yeah. There's some stupid shit in that movie, but it kind of holds up somewhat well.
I would say it held up pretty well.
Yeah, and as far as I know, a lot of the Godzilla movies since have kind of lost the plot in order for more spectacle type of thing. Fighting all the different monsters.
I personally didn't expect watching the original for it to have much of a message. I kind of imagined it as more of a horror movie, but it definitely was a little deeper than I thought it would be. And especially for the time, I think it's a fine movie to watch. I wasn't bored, A lot of times when you go back and watch old movies, you're just oh.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised. What I didn't expect was how much that old movie kind of tied into this newer one. I expected to go into this movie basically getting kind of what you were saying, Cameron, this monster blockbuster free for all, crazy CG action, and I definitely got that. But I thought it was very interesting that walking out of it, there was so many callbacks, which we'll touch on later, to the original movie, as well as sharing the title, despite it being a sequel.
Well, and what's really interesting is the human race as a believes that, this is our land, that we own the planet, because, we are the top of the food chain. And what's very interesting, allegedly right, go into the ocean and mess with certain sharks or make, don't treat them right. But what this movie really does is kind of does the opposite, where the human race isn't the top of the food chain, is that this doesn't belong to us, that there's creatures out there that are more stronger, deadlier, that will kill us, and then we depend on the thing that we were trying to destroy.
Interesting, yeah, because it does have that theme of nature is superior. Nature will always put in balance, and sometimes, the things that we're trying to destroy or control are the only things that could help save us in the end. And they kind of did that with Godzilla, because they almost killed him in this movie.
And also the thing is that the things we want, when it's presented in front of us, we have to look at what it's cost. That we wanted to they wanted to let these monsters go, but when they did, it came with the consequences.
Yeah.
And our villain, I forgot his name.
It was Oh, I didn't write him
The
down.
guy
I
that-
don't remember who.
Lannister.
I didn't even say his
Yeah,
name.
the Lana. He's the British guy. He's actually in Game of Thrones. He's
Yeah.
one of
Is
the
he
villains.
really?
Yeah, he is.
That's how I recognize him. He was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's a Lannister.
He
He
was
plays
kinda
the villains.
lame.
He's really good. But I found that very interesting. They wanted these monsters to take back the Earth, but when they did, it caused a lot of issues. It caused destruction, and it caused pain.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I thought that was okay. The problem I had was one of the main characters. Her name was like Emma something.
You're talking about
Yeah.
the girl who's
the
really
mother
the villain?
who was
Yeah.
a scientist.
Her name's Emma Russell, played by Vera I think it's Farmiga.
Okay, so
Farmiga.
like that dude was like okay, I guess, for like an antagonist sort of thing. She was the one that had to explain the theme of the movie at a certain point in.
And she
Wasn't
just did
she
it in this giant
I
expositional
personally
paragraph.
felt that he wasn't the antagonist. I felt like she was.
No,
He
yeah, I
had
felt that
he
way
had
too.
an antagonist tone to it.
Yeah,
at the beginning
he
of
was
the
kind of
movie
like
because-
the right hand though.
Who?
He wasn't like, I mean, he was the bad guy, but this was her plot. That she wanted to let these monsters go. She wanted to cause the destruction.
Mhm.
He was just the henchman. He was doing the bidding for her.
Which doesn't make sense to me because you had in the beginning of the movie like him and his guys like shooting down all those scientists trying to get to her, and it's like if she knew this whole time.
Exactly.
Well, and then the
like-
daughter knew. The daughter
daughter
knew.
really knew?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
she goes.
knew the whole time.
Yeah,
She knew the whole
she's
time?
like,
So
you
then why
said
was
this
she-
was gonna help. You said this was gonna. It was
Oh,
going to
because she
restore
was
balance.
lying to him.
But then they all acted surprised, and I don't know if that was an acting
Like,
thing.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about too, because I thought she was like a victim.
A
Of this sort of
victim,
thing,
right.
But now you're suggesting that she was like behind the whole thing.
Well,
and
here's
double crossing everyone.
I feel like it was kind of hinted at because at the very beginning of the movie, when they hatch this giant caterpillar that eventually turns into Mothra, right? She's there with the sonic device, the Orca, that she's using to try and communicate with it, and she just goes outside. This caterpillar's going nuts, all right? Everybody's about to die, and she's sitting there trying these different frequencies to try and calm it down. And the moment the first one fucked up and started spitting, like the caterpillar started reacted by attacking her with the web, I was like, okay, lady, you need to back off. And she did it 2 more times, dodged somehow 2 more, like, I don't know, caterpillar web or whatever, and got it on the 3rd time. I'm like, anybody who is willing to do that is clearly insane. I was like, this lady is
or
not
very heroic.
all in the head.
But see, what I didn't understand was the daughter knowing. You know, like I'm like, so, and then they acted surprised when this happened. You didn't know that unleashing monsters was going to be destructive.
I don't think they ever really told the daughter what the exact plan was. I think they were saying, we're doing this for Andrew, I think was their dead son's name.
Yeah,
or
because
something.
of
Yeah,
what Godzilla
but-
did.
When she said we're doing this for Andrew, it was implied that the daughter knew, because the daughter said, "You said we were doing this
to help people.
to restore balance. We were doing this for Andrew." Well, because this is what Andrew would want. But see, the problem is
Andrew would want giant monsters.
Yeah, but
all
see, my
over
thing
the
is, like-
world. Good old Andrew.
you knew that this was gonna happen.
Maybe the whole family's just crazy.
But like, where did she get this whole idea that you need a giant monster to correct everything?
But
when
see-
she was subject to a giant monster 5 years ago.
Well, see, and what's the weird thing is, like, at the end of the movie, after the credits, pulling a Marvel, it showed our Lannister guy who found the 3-headed beast.
oh, he
again.
bought like the head.
Yeah,
of
he
the
bought the
beast.
head.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
I didn't stay after the credits because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be goddamn it if I watch a Marvel singer for this fucking movie.
But see, the thing is like, I'm like, so are you the villain? Is she the villain? Like, is he the new villain?
I
That's
guess
my
he's the new.
fucking
I don't
thing.
even remember the guy. What was his name? Was Lannister? He didn't
No,
do anything.
no. He
No,
plays
no.
a Lannister
Oh,
in Game of Thrones.
okay.
I'm just referring to him as Lannister because
'Cause
I
that's
don't
what
know
we
his real
him
name.
as.
But see, that's the thing, is that I was very shocked when people didn't understand the consequences. like you should know that, hey, I'm gonna unleash these beasts.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. They're gonna know exactly where our borders are, our boundaries, what they can and cannot do. They know our laws.
You know,
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything.
Let's touch on some more of that in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, go on and like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slacking Off review discussion of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I'm still joined by Cameron Messer and JP Gomez, and we were just talking about how any plan that involves releasing giant monsters on the world is likely to end badly.
Look, don't do anything with monsters. Watch Frankenstein. See how that happened.
Or
Or any other movie.
Or watch the original Godzilla movies, because apparently all that's continuity in this movie.
Wait, are you serious? All of the old ones are...
Probably.
Oh, who knows?
I have no idea. Because this movie, like you said, makes reference a lot to the original Godzilla.
Yeah, and it did so in several ways. Well, let's talk about... Let's summarize like our overall story and what we thought of this whole plot in general. They've established Godzilla saved us a long time ago. The Titans have been away for 5 years. Crazy Lannister.
He's been
Game of
away for
Thrones
5
dude.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took a vacation.
And the world hasn't seen him since. And we got this guy kidnapping the doctor. The Monarch organization is this government organization that tries to control these monsters. They fail miserably. Just everywhere. They fail.
And the government's trying to shut them down so they can kill them themselves.
Yeah, and my main question is, why doesn't the government know where all of these things are, since they're funding this organization? What do we got here? But they
wasn't that the big question? Is like how many Titans are there?
You're the government. You should know what
you're funding.
you're
these
funding
people.
an
You didn't ask
organization.
this question week one.
Exactly.
You didn't do background checks.
It's been 5
You
years.
should-
Oh, what? You don't know? Like, and then
My other thing is, I really don't understand why a government would even allow this.
I don't either.
I would
But-
say kill them.
But here's the other thing. They are keeping Monster Zero, the big baddie, King Ghidorah, dragon with 3 heads, aka the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, in ice in Antarctica, and nobody knows about it. Oh, this one's so special. It's off the books. It turns out that's like the alpha and an alien,
Right.
because, you know, 3-headed dragon's an alien.
Mm-hmm. Although apparently that was in the original movie.
Is that right?
Yeah, like I'm not kidding when I say like it's apparently takes continuity with other older movies, because like that's actually the original story for King Ghidorah. Is an extraterrestrial monster.
Great.
Yeah.
Just great.
Yeah.
He comes out, kicks Godzilla's ass, and basically starts controlling all the Titans and awakening them around the world. That's basically our plot. Godzilla has to come up and stop him.
Mm-hmm. With the help of his human friends.
Yeah, because, you know, there's nothing quite like humanity and unity. That was a weird theme throughout this movie, was this theme of unity, because they're really hammering it through.
Here's my
head.
biggest thing about Godzilla, though, is that I didn't see at all a reason why for Godzilla to care.
Since ancient times, Godzilla
Why
has been worshipped.
does Godzilla give a crap about us? You know?
Oh, I don't think he gives a crap about the humans. I think he just gives a crap about his turf. Like essentially.
Yeah, but then why
because-
doesn't he just kill us? He clearly cares because he saved the people
Because
in
he
the first.
doesn't really care about like what humans do, as long as like it's technically his property.
We
Just, like,
killed his
We're,
property.
They
we're
even
essentially
said,
we're
"We're
essentially
his pets."
tenants.
Yeah, but we killed his property.
He's just a landlord. Yeah, and when we do kill his property, that's when he comes up from the water and tries
Rent
to
is
shoot
due.
everything. Yeah, that's what happens in like most Godzilla movies. Apparently, like we just fuck something up, and then Godzilla's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
God damn it! What'd you do now?
Yeah, fuck this. I'm gonna evict all you
Lasers.
with lasers.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I knew more. They sort of established that Godzilla's been around since ancient times. For whatever.
Fighting King Ghidorah.
Oh, yeah,
actually.
because, you know, this has been going on, and nobody knew.
I want to see Godzilla as a dad. Can you imagine how mad he'd get if he had kids?
Oh man, there's actually a movie that fits your needs.
Oh, Lord.
God, this is terrible.
It's called Son of Godzilla. And I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but what I've seen,
No, thank
it's
you.
it's a ride, Cameron.
Oh,
Is
Jesus.
it a drinking movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, you will love it. It's just a Godzilla and a tinier Godzilla, which is still huge by our standards,
Oh my
like
God.
skyscraper size, and it's just like hopping around like a fucking idiot.
This sounds so stupid.
You
Oh,
almost, you can almost picture like a football or something, and Godzilla's just.
Tell
kinda,
me
like,
there's not a
throwing-
Godzilla in space movie.
I'm sure there is.
They always
think
do
there
a
is.
in space movie.
There's always like an in space
Freddy in
movie.
Because it's the
space.
Japanese
There's
thing.
always like
Leprechaun
a-
in space.
Yeah.
That, didn't you know it's coming 2021? Godzilla in space
Chucky in
versus
space,
all
I
the
think.
Ghidorahs.
Oh yeah.
But what do
Jason
you?
in
Okay, the
space.
special effects in this movie, though, I gotta say, I was
Budget.
staring at the screen like this for some of it. just looking at it because I was like, I can't believe
What is
some of the shit that I'm
Godzilla?
seeing.
Is he a? What is he?
He's a lizard.
Monster.
No, he. Well, yeah, I know he's a monster, but like, what?
He's a
What is
lizard.
his like? I don't know. What is he?
A lizard.
He's a Godzilla. That's all you really.
What the
need to
heck
know.
is a Godzilla though? That's my thing. Like you had dragon, you had a butterfly-looking thing.
Lizard
you-
dinosaur with
Like, yeah,
lizard dinosaur stegosaurus put together
yeah. There you go.
that can
Okay.
shoot fire. So
Yeah.
he's part Charizard.
Radiation beam,
Yeah.
radioactive beam.
There you go.
Okay.
And also part fish for reasons.
Right, like part. I don't know, like fucking whale or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Prehistoric times were a weird time. That's all I can say.
But the visuals I thought were truly something else, along the levels of Avengers Endgame, which I was also near that scene when everybody.
When you actually see the monsters as well.
Better than the 2014 one.
The 2014 one, watching it so close, I was able to pick out. I'm like, that doesn't really look that good in a couple of those scenes. But
Mhm.
this one, I had a much harder time with it.
Yeah, I mean there was some scenes that I could tell was CGI, and then some that I couldn't. You know, I mean Godzilla looks really good. He looks cool. Really good design.
Yeah. Did any of the cast members stand out?
The villain, the guy from Game of Thrones.
The villain and pretty much like the only center of emotion was Millie Bobby Brown, who played the daughter in this movie, and it's really only because I remember her
From Stranger Things.
from Stranger Things.
See, I almost agree with you. I thought the main characters were only memorable because they got so much screen time. I don't really remember their
They got
names.
too much screen time.
Yeah, like I don't really remember their names. I don't think they're really compelling, and apparently some of them are coming back for Godzilla vs. Kong in 2020. But none of them really like stood out to me. And I think with Madison's character, I thought it was really lame how she's the one that saved the day. You know, she escapes with
Right,
this
'cause
the fucking
she
orca.
stole the device.
Yeah, and I'm like, because for whatever
Came with
reason,
her life though, right?
huh?
Was she the one that died, or is that the kid? I can't.
That's the kid. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the kid. The kid stole the orca, ran off to the city, basically saved everybody. But she somehow escaped this armed military base by herself by slipping this computer thing into her backpack, and nobody notices.
Everyone left in that room
That's right.
conveniently at the right time for her to steal it. Like, why didn't they have like one person there?
Why was it an underlocking key? The key to everything was just sitting there
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to take. I was
Well,
like,
they thought it
come
was
on.
an armed military base. Of course, they're not gonna lock it up.
That just
Treachery is
makes
a
it even
thing.
more mystifying. Why they didn't have at least one person there for
Especially since
sensitive
there's
materials?
tension between the doctor and this villain dude where they're starting to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it's like, maybe she'll decide to betray me. I should probably lock this up. Nah. No, I'm just going to leave it out.
Mm-hmm.
I also found it really funny how the main dude, Mark, like there's so many scenes where he's in these meetings with the military, because the military is everywhere in this movie. And every time something needs to happen, all the military members don't do anything. And he just stands up. Well, let's do this. We're going to do that.
Yeah,
Godzilla, no, he's hunting. He always knew exactly what to do, and he had to be the one to initiate everything in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's really reassuring.
But that's the thing. Is like you have this one dude who, as far as I remember, I don't even think he had military training in the movie, did he?
No, I think he's just like a zoologist or something like that. So it's like, and he didn't even like Godzilla in the beginning.
No, and he's the one that's like, oh, well, We
And
do
wasn't
this.
it wasn't it like after I swear it's like every scene. It's like Dr. Sarazawa says something and then the military is like no. And then Mark's like, we should do that.
We should do that. And then he turns to the doctor, and the doctor's like, we should do that.
Yeah.
And then the military's like, okay, the
Yeah.
doctor said so.
It's like, no, that's stupid.
Yeah, that
Okay.
that was the one thing is the doctor was always like, "What should we do?
Yeah, this
What should we
doctor
do?"
didn't
I'm like,
know anything.
"Dude,
You're the fucking
you
doctor.
study this guy, but you're asking the father who just built, the orca, what he should do."
It's like,
Like, I will say, I think my favorite scene in this movie is the scene where we go to Godzilla's home.
yeah, that was really
His bachelor pad.
Yeah,
His-
I
I mean, essentially, it was a bunch of lava lamps.
Love
When you think about it.
the thing, and because I felt it was kind of thing that the doctor is sacrificing himself to save the thing he loved.
Yeah, because he establishes the whole movie that he's like, Godzilla's on our side. Godzilla's our only hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was pretty thematic that he sacrificed himself because, he had to nuke Godzilla into power.
I think it was really good that it was him and no one else, and I'm glad he was like, there's no time for debate.
Do you want to go into it, or do you want me to go into it?
Interesting, because I thought it would have been a better sacrifice if Mark had sacrificed.
Yeah, I found it really weird that the doctor did it. And, I know why they did it. They did it as a callback to the original 1954
right, because
Godzilla.
you had the doctor then sacrifice himself.
But see, here's the thing: is that I look at it as the writer and the director chose this doctor to be the character out of everyone, to praise Godzilla, to love Godzilla, to want to save Godzilla more than anyone. Yeah, there was a couple that were like, oh, like he's the key, but throughout the entire film, the doctor never wanted him to die. Even for their own lives, he didn't want Godzilla to die. So for me, I understood why they chose that route, because if he loves Godzilla so much, then he has to be the one to do this.
See, my only
'Cause
gripe with that...
Mark
no,
hated. Mark was not gonna die for him.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I'm also thinking, look, this doctor guy is the only one that clearly has some scientific idea what's going on besides Dr. Emma, who is clearly mad at this point, trying to take over the world with Titans. And you sent your best doctor to nuke himself when there's no reason it had to be him, besides, convenience and thematically, it had to be him. But in terms of logistics, there's no reason anybody else could have gone. But it did make for a touching moment. Now, what I thought was really interesting is in the original 1954 Godzilla, the same doctor character was in that movie. When they dropped the oxygen bomb, he had to be the one to go down into the ocean and set off the bomb. And for unknown reasons, he decided they were using scuba gear with the wire attached that would pull him back up. For unknown reasons, after he activated the oxygen bomb that was going to disintegrate all life, he just cut his tube and went down with Godzilla.
Well, it's
That is
because you're forgetting the fact that there was an entire scene where he was showing remorse over the fact that he invented the whole thing.
But he also burned the formula. That was my thing.
Because he was like, I made a mistake of creating this thing in the first place. I don't want anyone to see it. I don't want anyone to know about it. And meaning the only person that has any access to that thing was myself.
But also,
Okay.
if you remember in this one, he was the doctor who knew the most about these creatures and everything, but he left his notebook. His work lived on.
Oh, that's right.
Even though he
he
didn't
gave it
live
to the
on.
guy who was calling the shots the whole movie.
Yeah,
Right,
he
yeah.
didn't live on, but his work lived on, which was very important. That was another reason why it worked for him to go
Okay,
and no one else.
I can buy that.
Mhm.
I can buy that.
By the way, the dude in the original movie, he had a freaking eye patch, and he was like a rather morally ambiguous character. This movie, though, first thing you see, bad, mean-looking dude with a British accent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Consider that.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so crazy. I thought those callbacks were really cool though. I mean,
yeah.
I like the way it was done better in this
Like, I
one.
wasn't expecting the oxygen bomb to show up in this movie.
I wasn't either because I was like, oh, I actually, I
That
thought
was
to
a weird
myself, I was like, wow,
coincidence.
JP was right. I should have watched the original, and I did.
Yeah, that was a weird
But-
coincidence. I was just like, I wasn't expecting that exact plot element to happen.
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
But overall, I think there are a lot of plot holes with it, but I thought it was a fun movie. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to give?
I mean, if you're looking for a movie that's fun and you want to see monsters on the big screen, it's a good movie to go see.
Buy it on Blu-ray?
Streaming subscriptions. I'll wait for it to come out on streaming subscriptions.
I don't think you've given a single movie except for Avengers where you're like, yeah, you need to buy it on Blu-ray.
Like everything else is just like, maybe it's a your mileage may vary type of thing.
It's not my favorite monster movie.
Mm-hmm.
Did this make you more excited for Godzilla vs. Kong?
Here's the deal. Here's what I expect for Godzilla versus Kong. I expect them to go to the island, them to meet up, and a crazy fight to happen with a lot of deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Another big summer blockbuster hit.
Mm-hmm.
Or you see these two creatures that people have fell in love with, and one will survive and one will die. Or they'll both die.
Or none of them will die so they can make more movies. They'll become
Um,
friends.
It'd be cool to start seeing people either start saying Team Godzilla or Team Kong, but
Team Kong or Team Godzilla? Put that on a shirt.
That sounds like a shirt.
that's what I expect. Two of these great legend monsters to come on screen and
I
be
don't
an
know.
epic fight.
After seeing this movie, I'm not sure if
Who's
King
gonna
Kong.
win though?
Kong
Who do you
doesn't
think's gonna
have
win?
a fucking chance.
I don't know. In
Because-
all honesty, I do
because
think Kong will put up a good fight.
he might, but like you guys remember that last part of the movie where he just like Godzilla goes into fucking nuclear meltdown.
Yeah, Kong is gone.
Yeah, like King Kong doesn't have that shit.
We don't know what
we
happens
haven't.
to Kong
Have any
yet.
of us seen Kong Skull Island?
I have.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what does King Kong
He's
have?
He is a big. He's mean too. I mean, when he went, I forgot what creatures he went up against, but he wasn't playing. I mean, he was ripping their heads off, splitting them in two, stomping on them, destroying places, killing
shooting
people.
at them with coconut guns and
Uh-huh.
fires and spurts. And if it shoots you, it's gonna hurt.
I don't know.
If he shoots you.
I mean, it depends what happens in the movie, but I'm sure it's going to be a pretty good fight.
I'm glad you think so because I'm thinking
Mhm.
they're gonna nerf Godzilla like crazy.
Or we could be
Yeah.
all wrong, and they could turn on the human race. And then if that's
Well,
the
then
case,
we're-
we are
Oh,
then,
all
yeah,
in
that-
trouble.
well,
we're
they
just entirely
established
screwed.
the winner in this movie.
Yeah,
Right?
this-
because
Oh, yeah.
they put in that Kong was one of the Titans on Skull Island, and they weren't subtle about it.
Oh no, they just said it.
And if King Ghidorah's frequency was like the alpha, and they all started doing this, and Godzilla killed him, Godzilla's the new alpha, so Kong's gonna listen to him.
Well, here's the deal: they showed glimpses of him, but the filmmakers could have decided to show Kong heading
the
over
cin-
there or leaving Skull Island to follow him. They didn't do that.
No, the studio was like, we'll leave that for the sequel.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, they didn't even show. There's a way they could have showed it. Him leaving Skull Island to follow this guy, and they
There's just a
didn't.
clip of this massive gorilla swimming, hauling ass across the ocean.
And they didn't do it. So, that's the thing.
Which is ironic because gorillas can't actually swim.
They can't.
No.
No wait, gorillas can't swim.
No, apparently not. So like, there's only two gorillas in fiction that can never swim:
I mean,
King Kong and Donkey Kong. And
they.
that's it.
I mean,
What?
you know what? They could pull a Freddy versus Jason where
That's what it is.
where you literally think, holy crap, this person won, and then it was a tie.
Yeah, because it's always a tie.
So
Well,
it was a tie.
it's really more that there's two winners and then everyone else is a loser.
Yeah.
when you think about it.
The people are the losers.
Yeah, all that collateral damage.
No, the writers. Oh
yeah.
shit! I gotta write Kong out of a situation where Godzilla's shooting fucking radiation breath at him. He's
I
a
just,
mon-
I
Picks
just hope
up
it isn't.
humans. Here.
I just hope it isn't like a Batman versus Superman type of situation.
Yeah, we want a good
Where it's
movie,
like-
not a bad movie.
Where it's like we're fighting. Well, I don't know. Where it's like two of these, I guess, figures trying to fight each other, and then look, there's a third party coming in.
all
Who would be
Godzilla
the
has to do
third
is walk
one?
in the
I'm trying to
water.
think.
Well, apparently it's gonna be King Ghidorah again.
Seriously?
According to that's.
Oh,
well,
so hold
that's
on.
what-
There's a new twist.
'cause
They
they
could
had-
team up and they could fight him.
See, that's what I'm not hoping. But when you guys mentioned like the stinger at the end, that's
Yeah.
probably what's gonna happen. Because King Ghidorah
Didn't they-
regenerates.
And didn't they? Well, didn't they do a mecha version of him?
Here's what's gonna happen:
There you go.
is Batman and Superman and all Justice League's gonna show up,
and then the Justice
King
League's gonna show up.
is gonna fight everyone.
And then at the last second, Doctor Stephen Strange will open up all those portals.
They'll be like, we need the kaiju
it
to
will
stop
be
the
Thanos."
Hulkbuster.
it's gonna be the Justice League versus Godzilla and King Kong.
Starring the Avengers.
I'd watch it.
It can't happen. They're not owned yet by Disney.
Yeah.
Maybe in a year.
Yeah,
Maybe in a
it's
year.
coming.
I don't know. After all these like box office failures, I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen. Like Shazam was a casualty.
And it's such
It was a
shame.
legit casualty because it's like April was entirely given to Endgame.
Yeah.
But then Detective Pikachu, and apparently this movie isn't doing too well. So
go see Shazam if you haven't already. We all really liked it.
get the Blu-ray for that.
Yeah, that's worth buying on Blu-ray. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slacking Off Show. We are reviewing Godzilla, King of the Monsters. We're going into our final thoughts right now. JP, what do you think? Should they go see it, spend their hard-earned cash, buy it on Blu-ray?
See, the thing is that I wish I'd enjoyed it. Because, like, going back to the whole expectations thing is, like, every Godzilla movie since, and even things that are entirely inspired by Godzilla, like Yu-Gi-Oh!, like Pokemon, like all that shit that's just focused on one thing. Giant monsters fighting each other.
Which is cool in premise.
Which is pretty cool in premise. And they sort of did some of that for this movie, because it's like, seeing Mothra fighting Rodan was cool, and then seeing Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah was pretty cool, especially when he went fucking Super Saiyan at the end. And also, there was like that one scene where Rodan was chasing everyone.
That was that was really cool.
Like, they were trying to get him to King Ghidorah so they can get those two to fight, and that was like a really cool and well shot sequence.
There's definitely a lot of cool stuff visually in this movie.
It's visually impressive, and I think we talked earlier about whether people should go see this in IMAX. And at the moment, I was thinking I probably should have saw this in IMAX because it looks impressive in parts.
Yeah, it
But
looks really good.
The problem is that the movie isn't about that. Like half the movie is about the giant monster fights. The other half is about all these humans that are just the dumbest people I've ever seen in a movie.
So it's real life.
Like not since not are they? I'm trying to think. Yeah, probably. You're probably right. But like not since Prometheus have I seen just a whole cast of idiots. just doing things for all the dumbest reasons and just saying a bunch of stupid shit. Like Emma's entire motivation just kind of seemed off.
I wish I had timed that out because she literally explained it for what felt like ever.
Mm-hmm. If it probably was, because I actually had to go to the bathroom at a certain point, and when I came back, I was like, "Oh, she's still talking. She's still explaining her motivations." Yeah, that wasn't good, and like a lot of the supporting cast wasn't like much of anything. You got that one guy who was just kind of like making wisecracks, and like he was talking about like this Hollow Earth shit, and I was like, I don't know what that has to do with the movie. I guess it's just his quirk, but like
it's doing really well in the box office.
No, apparently it flopped. Like it did less
Godzilla?
than the previous one.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, like apparently the 2014 one did like 70 million domestic, and then this one is doing like 49 million.
I'll have to look into that.
And then it's
didn't
even
look at the
less
numbers.
overseas. So like
That's surprising.
it's you figured it would do well because
the
big
origin
cultural
of it.
icon, Godzilla, king of the
Maybe
fucking
they're just
monsters.
tired of it. They're like, another
you know,
one.
20 movies in.
I
maybe.
think people are tired of it. Maybe not like Godzilla specifically.
Just so much. Well, if you're including
no.
this Netflix.
I'm talking about like this movie because I think this movie is a direct sequel to the 2014 one, and I know a lot of people are burned out by that movie
Interesting.
because a lot of people was expecting to see Godzilla, but that movie had a habit of trying to tease him.
Yeah.
If you remember,
Yeah, I do.
it was just like you see a leg and then cut to a different scene, or you see his whole body, but he's like in a TV somewhere.
Well, they did
cut to
do. They
another
did
scene.
have a couple of scenes where you did see his whole body in that movie, but
Occasionally.
it wasn't all over the screen.
It wasn't all over the screen, and it happened a lot.
It's
And I think
probably
people
because
were
the
tired
studio
by
was
that.
like, "Oh, this is expensive."
That was also probably it. So I think
CGI ain't cheap.
no, it's not cheap,
And
especially
this-
for a guy like Godzilla.
Especially this movie.
Kong.
I was looking
Or
at this and I
Kong.
was just like, "Gosh, they have money.
They had some money.
They had a lot of money."
Not enough money though, because I found a lot of the fights were like a little obscured in darkness, a little too obscured in darkness, especially the last part.
Yeah, well,
But,
they had King Ghidorah in a cloud for most of the movie.
Oh yeah, he
This
was
is
in a
cheaper.
fucking cloud.
Cheaper to
You only saw a
animate.
silhouette. It's like okay, that's how you cut the budget right there.
Yeah, we'll put him in a cloud. He is a thunderstorm.
Yeah, and it's funny because those are all like the best parts of the movie,
Yeah.
which I don't think is really saying much. But
I mean, I had a fun time. I mean, I really kind of walked in and it was better than I expected, but I don't think it was like great. You
No.
know what I mean? I really wanted to go in there and just stare at amazing computer generated monster fights. And for that, I was definitely satisfied with. I was pleasantly surprised with the references to the older movies, but my God, I hated almost every character on this screen. And what I thought was even weirder is even though this is a sequel, you totally could have watched this as a standalone.
Yeah.
I think it's important
very
we tell
true.
them that because if you haven't seen the first one, there's no need for you to see that before going into this because it's also an entirely new cast with the exception of like the Doctor.
Yeah.
The Doctor's the only returning character, and I mean obviously Godzilla.
Right. But they give enough of his character and who he is in this movie.
Well,
that
they
you don't
summarize
need
it
to-
immediately. They're like, "Oh, 5 years ago, Godzilla came and
Yeah.
we found out about Titans, and it changed the world forever." And now
Crash
there's-
course essentially.
Yeah, and we just kind of get right into it. But I mean, if you're somebody who's like a casual fan who just wants to go in and see some giant CGI monster fights, by all means, I would love to have seen it in IMAX for that. I feel like I kind of wished I had seen it in IMAX.
See,
I just didn't want to
Nope.
pay.
I
for
would
it.
have recommended that if it had more of the monsters. It's the same shit that I had with Detective Pikachu. It's like the best parts of the movie are the ones that they just don't do enough of.
Yeah, because where they showed all the Pokemon and stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of Detective Pikachu, if you haven't already seen our review, you can click right here on the screen, or if you're listening to the audio version, it is Slacking Off episode 7.
Although I guess I will say the humans in those movies are less dumb than this one. God, these people are so stupid.
These people are terrible. I think
and
that
there's
was
so
part of
much time spent with them.
it. Well, there was points where I wanted the movie to end.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah, there was a point where I'm like,
is this movie still going
Finish it.
on? And was it the runtime like 2 hours and 23 minutes?
Yeah.
It definitely felt like it at times. I think the sign of a good movie is when you don't feel it, but I was feeling it.
Like Avengers, actually. It's funny because it's like a lot of these movies that we've seen recently felt like they dragged a little long.
A little bit.
I would say that about like Long Shot. I'd say that about maybe Rocketman a bit, and
Yeah.
maybe Detective Pikachu. Endgame though, I kind of want more of that.
Endgame was hard for me to be
well,
like,
you've got to
oh.
remember is that the difference between those and Endgame is that we grew up with the characters with Endgame. We watched them evolved.
That's
There was multiple stories, you know. We wanted to see their journey. We didn't want to lose them.
But
right?
a common thing, though, is that in all of our reviews where we've talked about this, it's usually because we feel like they stuck on one thing too long in the movie. In this case, it was a lot of just behind rooms board meetings. Long Shot, it was like the party sequences.
Like, didn't it feel like half of the movie was an actual Godzilla movie, half of the movie felt like a budget Star Trek movie? Because they're all just like standing on like the bridge of this ship and just talking and just spouting exposition.
I can see it. I can see it.
Like,
No, yeah, never mind. Yeah.
There's a lot of exposition.
yeah.
I mean, I had a good time. I don't know if I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray. Actually, I rented the first one on the PlayStation Store. Kind of glad I didn't buy that. Watched it then. But I mean, if you just want to go see some CGI monster fights, you're willing to pay a little bit extra, I say go see it in IMAX. If you have a subscription like Movie Pass, it's fine. It's fun. Just you know, just don't expect the deepest story in the world.
A-list that shit.
Yeah, yeah. A-list, Movie Pass, whatever you use. But anyways,
Or Netflix.
or wait till it's on Netflix. Yeah, I think you should either see it now or wait. No in between. I wouldn't buy it on Blu-ray. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. If you like what you've seen here, once again, be sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. You can find the audio version at www.soundcloud.com/slackingOff. Link below in the description. And
like, I'm just thinking about that one scene where, like, Mark and Sarazawa were just trying to have a heart-to-heart. But then that entire scene was completely undone when the guy was like, where'd you get that from? And he said, it was a fortune cookie. Like, you spent minutes, like, I'm not even nitpicking. It's, like, right fucking there. You spent minutes talking about this shit, and you just completely, like, undid that thing.
I don't even remember what they were talking about.
It's just some sentimental crap.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The only thing I remember is that they just, like, completely ruined it.
And if you haven't already, please be sure to check out our other reviews. All the links to our social media are below in the description. Across everything, you can find us at Slacking Off Show. We'll see you guys later.